Hey guys, Bob Brenneman here, and we are back out doing another segment called Ask Bob. And today we're going to kind of mix it up a little bit. Instead of me answering questions that people have asked me, I'm going to be the one asking questions. And today we're going to sit down with Dave and Mandy, and they moved here about 4 years ago, and we're going to kind of talk about what it's been like living here in Mount Pleasant and Charleston. And I hope you guys enjoy it. All right, guys, so tell me, how'd y'all end up in Charleston, of all places?
Well, we spent about 12, I was born and raised in the Chicago area. She being from Charlotte, we moved up to Chicago to start our family. We lived there for maybe 12 or 15 years. I was in management, and I could see that just as time went on, things got busier, just the rat race, you could say, you know, and I've always loved the beach, got tired of the cold weather and this and that, and she's always loved Charleston growing up. Right, so then we decided, you know, to move, you know, somewhere along the coast. So we looked at Wilmington, the Myrtle Beach area, and the Charleston area. You know, we just visited a few different ones, but Charleston seemed like is exactly where we wanted to wind up. We ended up, though, because of job situation, in the Myrtle Beach area in Litchfield Beach for about a year.
Which is located in Pawleys Island.
Right, that's right. So y'all were up there. I forgot about that. Y'all were up there
for about a year. I think in the Myrtle Beach area, while Pawleys Island's beautiful and all those beaches are beautiful too, the focus obviously is a lot different there. You know, the focus is on vacation, recreation.
Retirement.
There's a lot of older people up there.
Retirement.
I was just, like I said, I was just up there yesterday, and I was like, you know, I'm getting older too. I'll be 50 this summer, but I'm like, man, there's a bunch of old people up here.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Which
Absolutely.
I can see myself shifting into, but not obviously. We're all raising our kids right now.
Of course. So this was a more, you know, we felt like Mount Pleasant was more of a family-oriented community. There would be more opportunities for the children. So the first opportunity we had to kind of switch the job gear and come this way, we took it.
You obviously looked at a lot of different areas, or I'm guessing in and around Charleston. I mean, not Myrtle Beach and places like that, but did you look in West Ashley? Did you think about James Island?
Absolutely.
I mean, and so I guess kind of what drew you into Mount Pleasant?
Well, the biggest thing would probably be just the schools, the proximity to the beach. You know, actual accessible beaches like at the IOP and Sullivan's Island were just 10 miles away or less even. The families were kind of like goal-oriented, kind of like us as far as
Focused on their children, you know, their children's
Raising-
education, raising their kids, giving them opportunities. It seemed like a nice fit that way. Honestly, also Mount Pleasant reminded us a lot of the suburb from Chicago that we came from.
right, which we didn't want to leave.
What suburb? Did you say?
Naperville.
Naperville, yeah.
So a
I've
western
heard,
suburb.
I've heard that comparison.
Right.
That's very
In
affluent.
fact, living here, we've met at least 4 people from Naperville.
More than that, probably
bet.
8 or 9.
A couple of houses down the
We live
street.
far from Naperville.
Yes.
So this is more like Naperville by the sea, and Naperville was what the #1 place to raise a child, I think, voted maybe 10 years ago in the country for towns about 100,000. So this felt like that. You know, there's the rec department, extensive rec department, a lot of green space, the parks, you know, the shopping, the quaint little shops, the restaurants, the families, you know, but the good thing is it's by the ocean.
Right. That's the bonus.
Yeah, I know that's a big plus, and I think I remember when we started looking, that was something you wanted, being close to the ocean, because y'all go as much as you thought you would go.
Absolutely. We're probably one of those families that still goes every opportunity they get all year long, you know, and big boaters, and we just always been water people, so it's perfect for us.
So, you know, as we're talking about some of, you know, why y'all chose this area, you know, and y'all have kids that are similar age to my kids, and you know, talk to me about raising kids here, and you know, rec opportunities. What do you think about the schools, those types of things? Well,
as far as the rec goes, this rec, you know, area in Mount Pleasant, I think compares to a very large metropolitan area rec department. That in Myrtle Beach, we had to drive 45 minutes one way to go to karate when they were young, or gymnastics. It was like almost a 2-hour commitment. Here, you know, they have games when it's 8 miles away. We're like, oh gosh, that's so far, you know, instead of 2 miles away, because there's parks everywhere, and just the opportunities just year long. There's almost too much to choose from, honestly. So there's that, and then the schools. Everybody seems to have the same focus. You know, they want their kids to be successful. It's education, safety first, and you know, go on to college and go on to growth. You know, it's not just get through high school and you know do whatever. But I just think everybody, I think, here is expected, and that's how I grew up, to go to college. There was no question that, you know, I may or may not go to college. That's important for us.
Oh, I agree. It's, you know, it's, and I think the more people you're around that have that mindset, obviously it's going to help, because they're telling their kids the same thing, and then the kids are talking, and They're like,
Absolutely.
we have pretty high goals.
Right.
Exactly.
And then I think even just within Mount Pleasant and then here within Park West where we live, what I have really liked, number one, the schools are at the opening of the subdivision. So that's fantastic. You know, you could legitimately ride your bike to the schools. We can take the golf cart to the schools. If you're a parent that's nervous about putting your kids on the school bus, your kids are never even going to leave residential streets. You know, they're going to go a mile on the school bus. So it's a good stepping stone. And, you know, also your teachers tend to be your neighbors, people you attend church with, people you see at the grocery store. So you really get relationships, you know, with the teachers through the years. It just feels like a great connected community here.
And y'all like y'all have enjoyed Park West because of those things you kind of just rattle off.
And what Dave touched on too, the fields, you know, obviously Mount Pleasant Rec Department owns the fields, but they're located in Park West. So our kids have had track meets there. They've done basketball. There are tennis courts. There are football fields, baseball fields. It's just so accessible and convenient.
It's nice, you know, you do kind of get spoiled, especially with the Mount Pleasant Rec Department.
Mm-hmm.
If your kids are playing in that you're playing in, you're not, because there's so many kids here, you're not leaving Mount Pleasant
Right.
for most of your
Right.
games. What are some of y'all's favorite activities that y'all go do as a family? I know we kind of hit on boating, or there are places,
Right.
you know, just...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely the beach. We like, you know, golf carting around, you know, looking at houses or the marsh. There's a crabbing dock. We've been there in Park West, you know, catching
down the
crabs.
street.
Really, all the outdoor activities. I mean, like you mentioned, we like golf carting. We love to play tennis. We go boating. We go to the beaches. I mean, we just do it all. We go to the parks and play.
Where do y'all go to eat from here? Just out of curiosity. I mean, what are your places? How far do you venture out on a
Well,
normal?
with kids or without.
Both.
So with kids, there's plenty of options, honestly, in Mount Pleasant. You know, if you want to stay in North Mount Pleasant, you can do that. There's plenty of options. If you want to go to the Old Village, you want to go to Shem Creek, a lot of choices there, all family friendly. Everywhere you go, even the nicer restaurants, there's always a lot of kids, so you
That's a
feel
great
comfortable.
point. That's a great point, because a lot of times people come here and they're like, well, how do we have to dress to go to wherever? And I'm like, generally, and you can go in anything you're
Yeah,
wearing.
that's what's nice. The food is great. You know, these are like New York trained chefs with a southern flair. Yet it's super casual, but the food is you know, not second to none. You know,
Right,
and a lot of these places
absolutely.
in Upper Peninsula, that's actually the up and coming area, and that's an easy drive because it's right over the bridge and you're off. You know, in that area with you know the barbecue place, Lewis, and all that area.
Oh yeah, that's
it's outstanding.
It's amazing how much it's. I mean,
Oh,
I mean,
I
y'all
know.
came
Even
from,
in 4 years.
You know, a good food town, great food town in Chicago, but to come here, I think people don't really realize unless they spend some time here. The food scene in Charleston is.
It is amazing,
Right.
and you read that in the magazines, and it's absolutely true.
And we haven't even touched on the food in downtown in Charleston. So then that's where you go when you don't have the kids.
Right.
And there's obviously, it goes without saying, a lot of wonderful food options down there. So, you know, that's what's so great. It's like, I always say this area is a small town with a big city feel. You know, there's so much culture, so much to eat and try and see and do, and festivals and history, anything really to do. So I think it's a great location.
Well, I know a question I get asked a lot, and I want to ask y'all. You know, when you moved here, I think we said 2014. So you've been here a little bit of time. You know, how was it getting plugged in? You know, you're not from here. I mean, you're from Charlotte, but what's that been like?
Well, it's easy. I've recently read, I believe, like 2 out of 3 people that move here along the coast in South Carolina are from somewhere else. And
2 out of 3.
it is true. I would say in Park West, it's probably 4 out of 5 are from another state, which I think is great because these people are moving here because they want to move here, not because they have to a job. So you're with people that are enjoying their life, are happy, generally happy. You know, they're not going through, you know, on the subway, you know, with that zombie dead zone look. These are people that enjoy. They move here on purpose, which
That's
is
a good point, Dave.
It's amazing how, you know, it feels different than people who are stuck. Here, we're not stuck. We actually moved because we wanted to. And I would say
Yes.
the majority of people move here because they want to. And what's great is big businesses are now coming because they want to, so the jobs are here. You see help wanted signs everywhere from all levels of jobs, you know, from teenagers and, you know, blue collar to white collar. Now hiring everywhere. And it's been like that for years. I think we were a step ahead of the economy compared to the rest of the country. So assimilating was very easy. You know, if I was a Ohio State grad, it might have been easier. But
We love people from Ohio. But there's a lot of y'all here.
that's what I'm saying. They're everywhere. There's so many. So,
That's
but if you don't
funny.
like Ohio State, it'll be on every TV and in every garage down the street here.
Well, in fact, I think just thinking about our street, of course, there are a lot of Ohio State fans, but there are only 2 native Charlestonians on our street, and I counted, I think there are 14 houses, so only 2 natives to the
Interesting.
area.
So that's
It
right
is.
along the lines of what I say. I'd say 10% of the people that I always tell
Yeah.
people that I've stopped at a bar or restaurant on the street and ask them where they're from, tell me they're from here.
But yeah, and
Right.
it seems like the natives here are actually very welcoming
Mm-hmm.
because we're not trying to force our values, I believe, or what they think our big city
Right.
values, northern Midwestern values are on them. We're here, soaking in the southern atmosphere, which is nice. So it's kind of got the variety of people from all over the country, which brings great things like ideas, different foods, good conversation. And like I said, they're here because they want to be, and it's just a positive feeling throughout
wonderful. We love it.
throughout Mount Pleasant. Everybody's happy.
Well, that leads me into my next question. We're talking about the things that are great about being here, and I shot a video recently where I talked about the things that I don't like about what's going on in Mount Pleasant or what's going on in Charleston. So, y'all tell me, and be honest. What would you like to see changed or?
Change is a good question. I couldn't say there's anything I don't like per se. I just love where we live. But probably the biggest thing that everyone comments on is infrastructure and, all of the growth. When I look back in my childhood growing up in the Charlotte area, truthfully, the growth and everything we're experiencing in the whole Charleston area and Mount Pleasant reminds me a lot of Charlotte 30 years ago. It really does. And, Charlotte definitely went through some growing pains to develop the infrastructure and the highway system and all of the things they needed for the influx. And so I see that here. There's such a large influx, every day, people moving to the area. And we're starting to address things. We're building a second high school. But looking to the future, I think as soon as they open the doors to the second high school, they'll be
need a
at
third.
capacity.
They'll need a third.
That's a good point. I think that too.
Right. And just also, what about just the geography of how far these kids travel from the old village right now all the way to the outer edges of North Mount Pleasant to attend high school? So we definitely probably need to start thinking about a third high school. And of course, just infrastructure, more access in and out of Mount Pleasant. In my mind, there's really only 3 ways. There's 526, 17, and maybe Highway 41 as main vessels.
Right.
So, widening of 41. Of course, we always need more lanes to 17. We need more
Yes.
lanes in 526. And just sort of, I think, adjusting for the growth. That's the only thing that I see that really needs improvement.
And you kind of would agree with that, Dave? Or?
Well, yeah, I'm not. I mean,
But you're coming from Chicago, so you're,
Right.
you're somewhat.
So again, even Mount Pleasant to Johns Island, they don't know what traffic is. So rush hour where I'm from is maybe from 1:30 p.m. till about 9 p.m. as opposed to 4:30 to 6. It's truly a rush hour here. And the majority of the time, the streets are open. And a lot of times on the weekends, people complain about the traffic, but there's traffic because people are going to all these events, like at Boone Hall and all those things.
Right,
Or
yeah.
they're going to the beach. I mean, there's a backup at the beach on Memorial Day. Well,
Memorial Day, you're going to the
yeah,
beach.
number one. Number two, is it really that bad to be stuck in traffic to go to the beach? No.
Right. There are worse
For an extra 20 minutes?
I know when I worked on Sullivan's Island when I was in college, I'd get stuck by the bridge on the Ben Sawyer, and I would sit in traffic. And I would always say to myself, "Bob, there's so many worse places to sit in traffic."
you
Right,
go.
right.
There
So
you
I
go.
don't feel like the traffic is bad. And again, I mean, I'm not a civil engineer, but I believe, and I hope they're working on the government. I trust in the government.
Right.
And so hopefully they're working on the correct, studies. And again, a lot of these people are coming from, other places like New York, New Jersey, I believe, that are maybe,
have the experience
yeah,
and
have
the knowledge.
right. So
Right.
Yeah, I think that helps.
Yeah, and I would add to that too that, but even though there are growth issues going on here, I'm okay with that. I welcome those issues because for me, it only means another increase in my property value. It's only going to help us, I think, in Mount Pleasant in the
Right.
long term. It's more
a good
taxpayers,
point.
right, support to do all these things that we need. So I'm honestly probably okay with it. I mean, I'm not going to say I don't get a little grumpy sometimes when, you're driving around in it trying to get the kids somewhere. But
Sure. Yeah.
anywhere in the Midwest, once we paid off our house, we would still be paying practically a mortgage just in property taxes.
Oh gosh,
Here,
great point. Great
I mean,
point.
it's laughable how low the taxes are for what you get. In a lot of places, you don't pay taxes, but you don't get a lot. But here, we get outstanding police service and fire department protection. I mean, the roads, the sidewalks, the parks, the access, everything.
Schools.
It's great, and it's pennies on the dollar compared to a lot of taxes in other states.
Definitely. That actually brings me back to when we were house shopping. I remember, you were kind of giving an intro to a house while we were in the car with you, the next house we were going to see, and you were, running through the schools, the taxes, this. And you mentioned the taxes, and I remember Dave said, "So is that per month?" And you chuckled and said, "No, that's per year."
Yeah, I get that question a lot. That's,
Right.
so we don't. That's one thing we don't want to change about. this
Absolutely.
Right,
area.
you don't want, well, true.
All right, guys, so that's a wrap. I hope y'all enjoyed our conversation today. I know I did, and we talked about some things that I think are very interesting and hopefully helpful to those of you who are going to watch this video. Again, if you have any questions about Charleston or Mount Pleasant, you can always reach me, Bob Brenneman, at the Brenneman Group at 843-345-6074. And you can check out our website devoted to Mount Pleasant living, which is mountpleasantproperty.net. Until next time, y'all,